It's 7 o'clock right now. President Trump continues to stay busy this weekend, visiting Las Vegas and weighing in on TikTok. We'll have the details ahead. Plus, a man dies after falling into a lake in Wisconsin. We've got the details on that just ahead. But first, Jacob is in this morning tracking out the end of the weekend as it's getting warmer, but still winter out there. This is Weekend Mornings, and once again, we thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Pazorski here with you on this Sunday, January 26th. Let's start with the first warn forecast, and Jacob Madison stands by with that. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning, Kyle. And what you said definitely describes the weather the next couple of days. It is going to be warmer compared to last week, but it is still winter, especially today, as we're seeing current temperatures in the single digits for some areas. Madison right now at 11. But as we look across the region, again, single digits for La Crosse and surrounding areas. A few locations pretty close to seeing temperatures below zero. And we're also having a few areas with the wind chills below zero. Now, compared to this time last week, this was the first morning where we had wind chills in the negative 20s, so it's certainly better than that, but it is still cold out there. Now, today actually does look like it's going to be the coldest day moving forward, as we're going to see mild temperatures for much of the work week. But right now, as we take a look at the current radar, mostly clear, and we're going to remain very clear throughout the entire day. Highs will be in the middle to lower 20s for Madison, pretty close to normal. Winds not too bad at all today. And as we get to La Crosse's forecast, could get up to 30, but mostly in the 20s across our region. Pretty much everyone will see complete sunshine. Here's a look at the forecast throughout the afternoon. Again, a very normal January day with the temperatures, but not going to be as normal for the rest of the work week, but that's going to be good news because we'll be pretty well above normal. I'll talk more in detail about that coming up a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. President Trump is in Miami this morning for the first day of his, or rather the last day of his first week back in office. The president crisscrossed the country in his first domestic trip, and aboard Air Force One spoke to reporters about everything from his plan for the Middle East to selling TikTok. Bradley Blackburn is tracking the latest.
In Las Vegas Saturday, President Trump walked the floor of a casino and paused briefly at a craps table. Later, aboard Air Force One, he showed his cards to reporters on a host of issues, speaking about his ideas for refugees in Gaza.
I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing.
The president also spoke about lifting a Biden-era limit on sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. He said he'd consider making Saudi Arabia his first foreign trip. And he also talked about selling TikTok to a domestic owner.
Numerous people are talking to me, very substantial people, about buying it. And I'd make that decision probably over the next 30 days.
On Saturday, Trump spoke at a rally in Las Vegas and renewed his promise to eliminate tax on tips.
Tipped income, your tips will be 100% yours.
The president's cabinet is taking shape with the Senate confirmation of Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary and Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. But some lawmakers are pushing back on Trump's sudden firing of more than a dozen federal inspectors general.
One more example of a lack of respect for rule of law.
These firings are Donald Trump's way of telling us he is terrified of accountability and is hostile to facts and to transparency.
Federal law requires that Congress receive 30 days' notice, and the firings will likely be challenged in court. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
And President Trump told reporters that the firings were standard practice, but even Republican Senator Chuck Grassley said the president needs to prove more explanation for why these inspector generals were removed from their oversight roles. Well, the clock is still ticking down for TikTok, and as you heard, Trump has dismissed reports that the White House is in talks with Oracle about buying the app. The president telling reporters he has never spoken to the head of Oracle about the app, but admits he has spoken to many people about TikTok. This past week, the president granted the social media site a 90-day extension to sell the app to an American buyer. Meanwhile, the president may see his cabinet increase by 2 more this week. The confirmation vote for Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is set for tomorrow night. The Senate is also scheduled to vote for Sean Duffy's confirmation on Tuesday. Duffy is nominated to serve as Transportation Secretary and is a former congressman from Wisconsin. Both are expected to receive bipartisan support. Looking around Wisconsin, the Eau Claire Police Department is investigating a homicide that took place Saturday morning. A press release states the police department was called to a shooting at a residence on the city's north side. Officers and EMS personnel performed life-saving measures, but the victim ultimately passed away. One suspect is in custody, and law enforcement has listed this as an isolated incident with no other suspects being sought. A 61-year-old man fell through the ice on a lake near Pewaukee while on a UTV. It happened on Lake Pewaukee on Saturday. First responders say they tried to rescue the man by bringing in divers and a hovercraft that you're seeing, eventually pulling the man out of the water. Unfortunately, though, the man died on the scene. In Madison, fire officials are trying to figure out if a kitchen fire on the city's west side was intentional or not. Madison Fire saying when they arrived at the apartment on Friday, they found a blanket on a stovetop. The fire caused minor damages to the unit and left one person with minor injuries. Turning to more local news, the city of Milton is welcoming its newly appointed chief of police tomorrow. It was on Friday when a swearing-in ceremony was held for Chief Stephen Thompson, who previously served in a variety of roles at the New Berlin Police Department. Chief Thompson says school safety is a top priority for his department.
We've had an unfortunate amount of events of school shooters and active assailants in schools, and I want to make sure that Milton is doing everything we can to make sure that that doesn't happen here.
Chief Thompson's official first day on the job will be tomorrow. To Sauk County, where 5 people were arrested on Friday after a pair of searches took place in 2 different cities. The sheriff's office says multiple complaints led to drug activity at homes in Reedsburg and Ironton for this investigation. The people involved range from the age of 36 to 70. Sheriffs are asking if you have any information on this or other activities in the area. You're asked to call the Sauk County Crime Stoppers at 1-888-TIP-SAUK. On the Health Watch, respiratory illness levels have been high in Wisconsin throughout the month of January. The week of January 19th saw 40 hospitalizations for influenza, which is the highest at UW Health in the last 3 years. UW Health said respiratory syncytial virus or RSV and COVID-19 are slightly declining, and these 3 viruses all cause influenza-like illness with symptoms that include fever, cough, and fatigue. The Trump administration has withdrawn a proposed rule that would ban menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. This is according to a regulatory docket. A menthol ban had been a top priority for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration when former President Joe Biden was in office. It was expected to happen in 2023 after the FDA sent the final version of its rule banning the products to the White House. However, the Biden administration never gave the ban the green light amid lobbying from stakeholder groups. Last April, a coalition of civil rights groups and medical organizations sued the FDA for missing its own deadline to ban menthol. The group said the lawsuit is still ongoing. There may soon be an improved way to determine obesity. The medical world has long used body mass index to determine weight-related health problems for patients. A BMI comes from calculating a person's height and weight, and a person with a rating of 30 or more is considered obese. But in a study published in a medical journal recently, officials say a better way to define obesity is to focus on waist circumference and how excess body fat affects the body. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 100 million Americans are obese and more than 22 million are severely obese. Time now is 7:09. Still ahead, got some consumer news with how egg prices will likely continue to stay high. Plus, Jacob is back with the full First Warn forecast. This is Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. We're going to see temperatures pretty close to normal today on the cooler side. Very mild conditions are in the forecast, though, for Monday and Tuesday and for much of this work week. But we also are going to see mostly dry weather until potentially next weekend. Now, as we take a look once again at today's forecast, plenty of sunshine, highs in the 20s. It is going to be a very normal January day temperature-wise. The average high is 27. We'll be very close to that. But overnight lows, they're not going to drop too much. We'll have Low temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s, which is only a few degrees colder than the highs for today. And the reason for that is we're going to see the winds pick up a little bit later in the night, and that will cause some warmer temperatures to move into our region. So not really going to be that windy today. Wind gusts up around 20 miles per hour, but then they'll be up around 30 by tomorrow morning, and then potentially getting even worse wind-wise. We could see wind gusts up around 35 miles per hour, but the winds will be out of the west, kind of west-southwest, which will bring in some of that warmer air into our region for Monday afternoon. And that's going to be the same case for Tuesday. Now, Monday night, the winds are going to calm down briefly before they pick back up for Tuesday afternoon. And once again, the winds will be out of the southwest with some pretty breezy conditions, making the temperatures very mild. So the 10-day temperature forecast shows highs potentially near 40 for Monday and Tuesday, lower 40s for Thursday and Friday. Could see a little bit of a dip in those temperatures Wednesday, but still above normal. And even when the temperatures fall for next weekend and early next week, they're still going to be above that normal level. So overall, very nice weather is in the forecast this week, all things considered. Now for today, this will be the coldest day of the week, but we also will see plenty of sunshine and very little wind. But as I mentioned, the wind will pick up tomorrow, and we'll also see some clouds move into the region. And looking further north, later in the morning and early afternoon, we'll see some snow showers from northern Wisconsin moving southward, and that's going to continue to push to the south, but it's going to dissipate quite a bit as it moves into southern Wisconsin. So a lot of southern Wisconsin may not see any snowfall, but the chance of some light flurries will still be there. Now, we're going to have another chance of some light flurries later in the night and for Tuesday, but it is very possible that a lot of the region misses out on the snow entirely for the next couple of days. So the chance of snow will be pretty light, and even if we do see it, we're not expecting much accumulation. A little bit more likely for you folks tuning in from Eau Claire, though. But as we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, I mean, the big story is that we're going to see very mild temperatures this week, and we'll see a lot of sunshine on top of those mild temperatures. Highs could get up to 50 on Thursday for La Crosse. Likely going to stay in the 40s for Madison, at least that's what it looks like for now. And then again, we could see some more precipitation for next weekend. But at this point in time, it looks like we actually may see more rain than snow. However, we could see a mix of both.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Some consumer news. You can expect to continue to paying high prices for the breakfast staple eggs. A price outlook from the USDA estimates egg prices will increase about 20% this year, and that is compared to about 2.2% for food prices in general. Government data shows the average price of a dozen eggs was $4.15 last month. According to the Consumer Price Index, that is about a 36% increase from last December. The high price is being driven by the ongoing bird flu outbreak as well as inflation. The USDA says bird flu has killed over 17 million egg-laying hens in November and December, and that is nearly half of all birds killed by the virus last year. It has been 35 years since Alvin Ailey, one of the most influential choreographers of the 20th century, died of complications from AIDS. Now Ailey and his work are being remembered with a major exhibit in New York. Jerika Duncan paid a visit.
Alvin Ailey's legacy lives on through the choreography he pioneered, modern dance moves that express the struggle, the strength, and the joys of the Black experience in America.
He did this in 1958 at a time when even rehearsal studios in New York City were still segregated.
Adrian Edwards is the senior curator of the exhibition Edges of Ailey at New York's Whitney Museum of American Art.
It became very quickly clear to us that not only was it about the personal and the private, but it was about this constellation of figures who had profoundly shaped him.
Edwards says she spent the last 6 years sifting through hundreds of pieces of artwork, interviews, and Ailey's writings.
His notebooks are throughout this exhibition.
He reveals intimate thoughts of his life as a gay man and writes about his nervous breakdown in 1980.
We don't often think about what our dreams actually may cost us.
Ailey died from AIDS-related complications in 1989. A section of the famed AIDS memorial quilt with a nod to Ailey hangs as a tribute.
If Alvin Ailey had been alive today, what do you think he would say about this exhibition?
I would hope that he would feel recognized for the fullness of his influence, not just as one of America's, if not our best choreographers.
And the curse again.
But also one of our most important artists.
An artist who challenged us to feel something through dance. Jerika Duncan, CBS News, New York.
Let's take a moment and check out some weather photos submitted to us. This first photo sent in by JD, showing some very blue birds enjoying a bird bath right there. So thank you, JD, for submitting your photo. We have another photo, but as I go through these, you can scan that QR code in the top left of the screen to submit your own photo. But there's another way if you can't do that at the moment. I'll show you in a moment. There is another photo. So this was sent in by Andrew from Westfield, showing a very nice sunset right there. So thank you, Andrew, for submitting your photo. Again, you could scan that QR code to submit your own weather photo. But if you can't do that at the moment, you can go to our website, channel3000.com, click on the weather tab, scroll down until you see post your own right there. And then just give us your name and location, and we may feature some of your weather photos. We love submitting them, so thank you all for your weather photo submissions. They're really awesome.
All right, Jacob, thank you. More news. All monkeys that escaped a South Carolina research facility last year have now been captured, with the final 4 being returned this past week. An official with the Alpha Genesis Primate Research Center says they appear to be in good health. A total of 43 escaped in November after a caretaker failed to secure some doors. The facility specialized in non-human primate research for biomedical research. Police said at the time that the monkeys have never been tested and are too young to carry disease. Now to sports with Andrew.
Wisconsin is the standard for women's hockey. The #1 team in the nation sells out LeBron Arena at almost every game and inspires the next generation of athletes, such as the Madison Dragons youth girls hockey team, who just had to be in these highlights. 11th ranked St. Cloud State in town. Let's jump to the second period. Wisconsin up 2-1 on a power play, moving that puck around like a hot potato. And it finds Layla Edwards, who slaps it home. Could not have drawn that up any better. And the score, 3-1 Wisconsin. And then later, still with a player advantage, and the Badgers pounce again. Vivian Jungles puts one off the crossbar, and Cassie Hall is there for the cleanup duty. Wisconsin wins it 5-2, your final score. Well, Badger men's basketball had their fun in the LA sun, but are glad to be back home and hungry to get back out the court today. Greg Gard's guys lost their first game in over a month in their last time out and have that chance to get back in the winning column today when the Cornhuskers of Nebraska come here to the Kohl Center. Wisconsin has lost 3 of their last 4 against Nebraska, but the 2 Johns, if you ask them, that doesn't matter. They're just ready to roll.
It's definitely another opportunity to just get better and play in front of the Kohl Center again, get it back going, get back in that win column. I think everybody in the locker room is excited to, come back and play and get a W on Sunday.
It's good to get back home and, play in front of the Kohl Center again and, just get in a rhythm with that and, just compete come Sunday.
And high school boys hoops, it's the Badger Challenge. You know what that means. Best of the Badger large playing the best of the Badger small. Wanakee whipping it around, and it finds Caden McKenzie. He wants all 3 of those, and he gets them. Wanakee led for most of the first half, but the Vikings, they're always just one Josh Manchester flurry from being in the mix. One of 10 guys in the state averaging 30-plus points a game. The scorer does his thing off glass, and Mount Horeb, they'd stay close, but not close enough. The Warriors, again, putting on a clinic on how to move the ball around the floor, finding the open man once more. It's Trey Murray, nails the 3, and his Warriors, they'd win it 65-54. That's your morning sports fix. Have a stunning
7:30 right now. The latest news coming out of Washington with President Trump's cabinet continuing to come together. Who's confirmed is coming up. Plus, the president fires the inspectors general from more than a dozen federal agencies, paving the way to install his own pigs. We have those details and more ahead here on Weekend Morning. So once again, thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Pazorski. Let's start with the first warn forecast, and Jacob Montesano has that. Good morning, Jacob. Like we've been saying all morning, it feels warmer, but yeah, it's still winter, right?
Yeah, especially this morning where temperatures very close to what we normally see this time of the year. We're having temperatures in the single digits for parts of the region. Still a lot better than most of last week. And if we take a look at the current wind chills, there are a few areas seeing wind chills below zero. It is colder further west where there are some areas in the negative double digits. So definitely just be aware it is still pretty cold today, but today will be the coldest day going forward. It's going to be a lot milder for tomorrow. Current radar almost completely dry. Barely going to see any clouds today, let alone snow or rain, but that may not be the case for tomorrow. Zooming further out, continuing to see very dry conditions across much of the Midwest. Really, the only snow has been from the Great Lakes on the eastern side of the Great Lakes, with most of the Midwest very dry this winter, not just our area. So taking a look at the forecast for today, again, barely going to see any clouds. Highs will be in the middle to lower 20s here in Madison. A little bit warmer for you folks in La Crosse, as you folks could get up to 30. Winds, maybe a little bit breezy at times, but for the most part, the winds not too bad at all. So although it's going to be on the cooler side with the sunshine and little wind, it may not feel quite as cold. But even if it is too cold for you today, it's going to be much milder for a lot of this week. I'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later.
Yeah, while it might be a little too cold for some, it is like we've been mentioning, you've been saying, it's way better than like 2 degrees we had like all of last week.
Yeah, last week was bitterly cold, rough. And we're not going to see anything quite like that for the foreseeable future.
All right, good news. Thank you, Jacob. Well, topping the news this morning, President Donald Trump's cabinet is quickly coming together. Yesterday, the Senate voted to confirm Kristi Noem as Secretary of Homeland Security. Noem has served as governor of South Dakota since 2019 and is a former 4-term Congresswoman. Noem, who is a longtime Trump ally, will now be in charge of an agency that will play a central role in President Trump's promised immigration crackdown. She called border security a top priority during her confirmation hearing. Meanwhile, President Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has been sworn in. Yesterday, Hegseth was joined by his wife and 7 children at a ceremony which was officiated by Vice President J.D. Vance. Hegseth was narrowly confirmed by the Senate Friday night after the Vice President had to cast a tie-breaking vote. This marked only the second time in history where the Vice President had to do so.
It is the honor of a lifetime, sir, to serve under you. We look forward to having the backs of our troops and having your back in executing peace through strength, in putting America first.
3 Republicans joined all Democrats in the Senate to oppose Hegseth's nomination.
Thank you for...
We are learning that President Trump has fired the inspectors general from more than a dozen federal agencies. Inspectors general serve as independent watchdogs within agencies who investigate and disclose fraud and waste. The firings paved the way for Trump to install his own picks overseeing the agencies. However, they have also prompted concern from Republican senators. Federal law states the White House must give Congress a 30 days notice before an inspector general is fired. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley and Majority Leader John Thune have both said Congress was not given that notice or any explanation from the White House. And as President Trump works to follow up on campaign promises, immigrant communities are facing fear and uncertainty as his deportation plans take shape. Jen Sullivan reports on the latest arrest and what some local leaders are saying about the plan for mass deportations.
Drastic changes in immigration policy being felt on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border.
Difícil, duro, como
it was very hard, and it's even harder seeing how this hope for light was extinguished. Migrants like Jocelyn Enriquez stranded in Mexico after the immigration processing app known as CPP-1 was shut down this week as part of President Donald Trump's initiative to crack down on immigration.
We have to have legal immigration.
In Mexico, shelters are being built to house Mexican deportees. On the other side of the border, in San Diego, hundreds of National Guard and military troops ordered to be stationed near the border as Trump calls for mass deportations.
We are seeing many more people that are worried about what this means for them, whether their rights will be trampled upon.
There are more than 8 million migrant encounters nationwide under former President Joe Biden, according to the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. As the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency ramps up arrests in several cities across the country, the Justice Department sending out a memo threatening to prosecute state and local officials who resist federal immigration crackdown. In Newark, New Jersey Thursday, federal agents detained multiple people suspected of being in the country illegally at a local business. The mayor pushing back.
A lot of store owners are afraid. Their workers won't come. And what these folks don't understand is this is going to hurt our economy.
The Trump administration praising law enforcement's action this week, with the White House press secretary tweeting Friday that deportation flights have begun and warning if you enter illegally, you will face severe consequences. In New York, I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Back here in Wisconsin, we are also seeing several local groups reacting to some of the changes coming with the arrival of the second Trump term. One of those is Central Hispano in Madison. As we saw throughout the campaign and with President Trump's executive orders this past week, immigration will be a major focus of the next 4 years. In sitting down with leaders from Central, they spoke about highlighting the resources they provide to the Latino community in Madison, things like connecting community members with legal resources. We spoke with their executive director.
There are a lot of services that we do when it comes to immigration, resource navigation, programming that we do in the schools around leadership development. Central to that is their joy and their humanity. So we want them to laugh. We want them to be completely vulnerable with who they are. And once they leave this building, we want them to tell that story and to share in that joy and that humanity.
You can see more from Will Keneally's interview on For the Record coming up this morning at 10:30 on WISC-TV. Well, have you ever seen anything like this? Visitors to the Brooklyn, New York Botanic Garden got to catch a glimpse of a plant called the corpse flower. It is called that due to its unique stench. The rare flower is native to Sumatra and will only bloom for a few days. Experts at the garden say it can grow even taller than what you're seeing there, and it emits a scent aimed at attracting fly pollinators. There are people online who are liking it to smelling like feet, cheese, rotten meat, and some even referencing that it smells like a rotting corpse. Kind of a unique thing. Never seen something like this before. Super cool. This particular one that you're seeing, it has been named now Smelliot. So that's quite a name. All right, well, still ahead here on Weekend Mornings, we take a look at the 35th annual Folk Ball Festival happening in Madison and how you can still take part. We're back in a bit.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the precipitation chances over the next 7 days. And yes, this is precip chances, not just snow chances, because we may see temperatures warm enough to have rainfall. Now, we're going to be pretty dry through Friday, but then Friday night into Saturday, we are going to see a system potentially move through southern Wisconsin. Now, a lot could change between now and then, but here's what it looks like right now. This is the GFS model, still bringing in that precipitation into southern Wisconsin by Saturday morning, but a lot of it will dissipate as it pushes off to the north. However, as temperatures cool down, we could see some snow on the back end of this system on Sunday. However, in this instance, we're not going to see much precipitation, certainly not going to see much in the form of snowfall. Now, the European model doesn't really dissipate that system as much as it moves into southern Wisconsin, but it still is mostly bringing rainfall, so we're still not expecting a lot of accumulation with this setup either, but we still could see some snow on the back end of the system as well. So, again, a lot could change between now and then, but right now in both instances, we're not expecting a lot of accumulation.
A great event with lots of tradition is back in Madison this weekend with the Folk Ball Festival taking place, celebrating their 35th year. Our Tanisha Shaw is reporting on how the community is using their dance moves to celebrate culture.
Traditional dance moves are back in Madison for the Folk Ball Festival at UW's Memorial Union.
I've been doing this kind of ethnic dance, since I was 8 years old.
From San Diego to here just for the weekend.
Dancing is very good for the soul.
The most anticipated event is the Folk Ball Saturday night. Beforehand and afterwards, community members get a chance to learn traditional dance moves from the experts.
But we take from a variety of cultures. There's quite a bit of variety in the Balkan area. Think of the Greeks and the Serbians and the Romanians and the Albanians. There's a lot of different groups.
During the 3-day dance party, attendees have a chance to learn and embrace European cultures.
Most of our dances were connected in lines, so we're hanging on to a neighbor by hands or by belts or something, and so we're very aware of how our neighbors are moving and that we're all moving together.
Even though the event is fun, it's also necessary to keep traditions alive.
For the people who belong to the ethnic groups, of course, it's part of their identity, but that's not what most of us are doing. Most of us are doing it for fun. I think it's something that almost every culture has, where people dance joyfully together, or maybe they dance ceremonially together, but it creates a sense of community. And it preserves that sense of community, passes it on to a new generation of people.
Reporting in Madison, Tanaja Shaw, News 3 Now.
And the fun continues today at the Memorial Union with the Balkan Dance Review beginning at 10:30. Staying local, another fun event taking place this weekend is Brick Fest. It's here in Madison. The goal is to inspire, educate, and entertain families and children through interactive exhibits geared for kids ages 6 to 12 and their friends, family, and guardians. Children are the main participant, but the event is for all brick lovers.
I think Lego has transformed so much in the past few decades or so. I mean, it was geared towards kids, now it's geared towards everyone. They make sets just for adults these days, so it's never too old to play with the bricks, I would say.
Guests can expect to see life-size models and a chance to participate in building a Guinness World Record-setting mosaic. Brickfest is back in action today, beginning at 10. Well, still to come here on your weekend morning show, Andrew checks in with Saturday's sports highlights. Plus, Jacob is back with a look at the full First Warn forecast this weekend mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a final look at the 3 things you need to know. We are going to see temperatures on the cooler side today, but pretty close to average. And then we'll see those temperatures warm up for Monday and Tuesday with dry conditions for much of the work week. Now, as we take a look at the temperatures the past 2 weeks, they've kind of been up and down. Now, we finally saw above average temperatures yesterday, but from Sunday through Friday last week, they were below normal. And in the case of Monday and Tuesday, extremely below normal. Now, that's going to change a little bit, at least over the last week, with the below normal temperatures, because as we look at the temperatures compared to average, the highs, I should say, for the next 10 days, we're mostly talking about temperatures above that normal level, especially for this work week, where in some cases we'll be close to 15 to 20 degrees above normal. Now, for today, we'll be very close to that level, the normal level, I should say. Highs will be in the middle to upper 20s with plenty of sunshine. But then for tomorrow, they're going to rise into the upper 30s, maybe even lower 40s. But we are going to see a little bit more cloud cover and a small chance of snow. The reason we'll see these warmer temperatures will be the breezy conditions, so it will be a little bit windy tomorrow, but with the temperatures, not even going to even mention the wind chill. And the temperatures, as I mentioned, will remain mild for much of the work week. We'll have highs in the lower 40s, and we'll also see pretty dry conditions, so a lot of these days we're going to see sunshine. Now, as we take a look at the cloud cover and snowfall forecast for the next couple of days, for today, we'll barely see any clouds in the sky throughout the afternoon, but then we are going to see clouds develop tomorrow, clear skies overnight, but then for tomorrow, we'll see some snow showers in central and northern Wisconsin during the late morning and early afternoon. As they move south, though, they are going to dissipate. Still could see some light snow showers in southern Wisconsin, but we're not expecting any accumulation. And we'll continue to see on and off cloud cover and a small chance of some snow showers Monday night into Tuesday, with another chance of some light flurries for Tuesday afternoon. But overall, we are likely not going to see much in the form of snow for the next couple of days. We'll see mild temperatures and nice weather for really the entire work week. It could get up to 50 for La Crosse on Thursday, so definitely enjoy this weather. Now, we probably are going to see some cooler temperatures by the weekend and early next week, with a chance of some rain and snow for Saturday. A lot can change between now and then with that system on Saturday, but right now it does look like we'll actually see mostly rainfall, especially for southern Wisconsin. La Crosse may see mostly snow And even if it does snow at this point in time, we are not expecting much in the form of accumulation. But again, a lot can change between now and then. But looking at this work week, again, very nice weather. I mean, 40s, potentially 4 days over the next 6. So it's going to be a lot better than last week. I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Wisconsin is the standard for women's hockey. The #1 team in the nation sells out LeBron Arena at almost every game and inspires the next generation of athletes, such as the Madison Dragons youth girls hockey team, who just had to be in these highlights. 11th ranked St. Cloud State in town. Let's jump to the second period. Wisconsin up 2-1 on a power play, moving that puck around like a hot potato. And it finds Layla Edwards, who slaps it home. Could not have drawn that up any better. And the score 3-1 Wisconsin. And then later, still with a player advantage, and the Badgers pounce again. Vivian Jungles puts one off the crossbar, and Cassie Hall is there for the cleanup duty. Wisconsin wins it 5-2, your final score. Well, Badger men's basketball had their fun in the LA sun, but are glad to be back home and hungry to get back out the court today. Greg Gard's guys lost their first game in over a month in their last time out and have that chance to get back in the winning column today when the Cornhuskers of Nebraska come here to the Kohl Center. Wisconsin has lost 3 of their last 4 against Nebraska, but the 2 Johns, if you ask them, that doesn't matter. They're just ready to roll.
It's definitely another opportunity to just get better and play in front of the Kohl Center again, get it back going, get back in that win column. I think everybody in the locker room is excited, come back and play and get a W on Sunday.
It's good to get back home and, play in front of the Kohl Center again and, just get in a rhythm with that and, just compete come Sunday.
And high school boys hoops, it's the Badger Challenge. You know what that means. Best of the Badger large playing the best of the Badger small. Wanakee whipping it around, and it finds Caden McKenzie. He wants all 3 of those, and he gets them. Wanakee led for most of the first half, but the Vikings, they're always just one Josh Manchester flurry from being in the mix. One of 10 guys in the state averaging 30-plus points a game. The scorer does his thing off glass, and Mount Horeb, they'd stay close, but not close enough. The Warriors, again, putting on a clinic on how to move the ball around the floor, finding the open man once more. It's Trey Murray, nails the 3, and his Warriors, they'd win it 65-54. That's your morning sports fix. Have a stunning Sunday.
Thank you, Andrew. And still ahead here on Weekend Mornings, we'll take a look at this thing called the corpse flower. We'll chat about it. Plus, here's a look at what's to come on For the Record.
Hey, Kyle. Yeah, a week dominated in the headlines by Trump's inauguration. And coming up this morning on For the Record, we check in with both Wisconsin senators about how D.C. is reacting to the new administration. We also sit down with the executive director of Centro Hispano about how local organizations are working during the second Trump term. That's all ahead this morning at 10:30.
Getting a lot of attention. Visitors to the Brooklyn, New York Botanic Garden are seeing this thing called a corpse flower. It is called that because of its unique stench. The rare flower is a native to Sumatra and will only bloom for a few days. And experts at the garden say it can grow even taller than what you're seeing there and emits a scent aimed at attracting fly pollinators. And like we've been saying this morning, this one has been named Smelliot. Interesting, Jacob, don't you think? I've read online and I've been saying it, people say it smells like feet, cheese, rotten milk, rotten meat, other things like that. I don't know. It's just kind of odd, isn't it?
I don't even know really what I'm looking at. That definitely is very interesting.
Well, it's called the corpse flower.
Yeah, but why is it called the corpse flower? Just
because
it smells?
It's stinky.
It's stinky? Okay. And did you say it only blooms like once every few years or something?
Yes, that's the other thing. It's like 5 years that it blooms.
I don't even understand how that's a flower. It looks like a baguette coming out of the flower. I don't even know.
And it stinks. So there's people online who I've seen who have taken off of work to go see this thing.
Okay, then. That's interesting. I don't know if I do that. But anyway, let's take a look at the 7 to 10 day forecast. Pretty dry and overall very mild for the work week. It will be cool today, but then much milder for Monday, Tuesday, and that's going to continue through Friday with a good chance of some precipitation by the weekend, but it may be in the form of rain and snow, not just snow. In fact, we may see mostly rain in southern Wisconsin on Saturday, so accumulation at this point is very unlikely. But it looks like we will see those temperatures cool down a little bit by the time we get to next week. But enjoy the mild weather while it's here.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you all for watching. Have a great Sunday, folks.